Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. The state has upped its war against illicit liquor. We'll be telling about the latest measures taken by government.
Indeed, and so much saw some bit of drama in Nairobi CBD concerning the Jesus is Alive ministries.
And of course, we will be telling you about those details. But of course, later our interview with the Principal Secretary in charge of Culture, the Arts and Heritage, Umi Bashir, CBS. She will be speaking to us really about the preservation of culture and heritage in the Republic. But first things first, here are tonight's highlights.
The border points of Namanga and Loitoktok are an entry point of illegal ethanol and other contraband goods. And neither the officers there have slept on duty or they are part of the problem.
In search of soberness, government suspends licenses for second-generation alcohol makers. Revolutionizing the digital landscape. Kenya to commission the first geothermal powered data center in Africa. Wanjiru wept. Bishop Margaret Wanjiru decries the demolition of our Jesus is Alive ministry. Well, Anwangeshi is a sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Kioria. You're very much welcome to the broadcast.
Good evening, I'm Regina, Manyara. Now, the government has suspended all licenses and permits for the manufacturers and distillers of second-generation alcoholic drinks in the country with immediate effect.
In a set of new drastic measures aimed at combating the trade and abuse of illicit substances, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has directed all liquor businesses near schools and residents to shut down and seek fresh approval within the next 3 weeks.
Kindiki also warned that any outlet that will be found selling shisha will be shut with immediate effect.
Days after over 20 people died from the consumption of illicit alcohol in Kirinyaga County, the government has now come out blazing, and in its bag is a set of new 25 tough rules that must be met by distillers and manufacturers of second-generation brews. Top among the measures announced Wednesday is suspension of licenses for all manufacturers of second-generation alcohol, with Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki directing that all those affected must apply afresh within 21 days.
The Ministry of Interior and National Administration invites all currently licensed manufacturers and distillers to a meeting to be held on Tuesday, the 12th March 2024 at 10 a.m. on the above prescription.
The government has also ordered public officers operating bars in the counties to immediately shut them down or resign from their positions. CS Kindiki further says no bar or liquor selling establishment will be allowed to operate beyond the set operating hours, and that anyone contravening the directive will be fined or imprisoned as stipulated by the law.
The people of Kenya must go home when that time expires, because we don't want to collect Kenyans in dirty ditches, so they should go a little earlier.
In a bill to tame the proliferation of illicit brew and drugs in the country, the government has also directed that all security officers manning borders and highways be vetted, and only those of integrity and good standing be allowed to conduct surveillance at the border points. Speaking when he met county security officers at his current residence, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua warned the administrators that they will be held personally responsible should the new set of rules fail to materialize.
I must say there are certain areas the officers responsible must pull up their socks. The team from Kajiado, the border points of Namanga and Loitoktok are an entry point of illegal ethanol and other contraband goods. And neither the officers there have slept on duty or they are part of the problem.
For Prime Edition, I'm Joseph Hungu.
Now, Kenya is set to commission the first geothermal-powered data center in Africa in a technology that will propel the country's digital economy.
Under the deal signed between EcoCloud of Kenya and United Arab Emirates-based G42, the data center will be the first green, energy-driven digital infrastructure in Africa.
President William Ruto has said the pioneering project will revolutionize the digital landscape not just in East Africa, but across the globe.
Located in Kenya's geothermal-rich region, the EcoCloud G42 mega data center is planned to have initial capacity of 100 megawatts with the potential to expand it to 1 gigawatt. Speaking during the signing ceremony between Dubai-based G42 and Nairobi-based EcoCloud, President William Ruto has said the technology is a bold statement of Kenya's commitment to harnessing renewable energy for technological advancement. President Ruto further says, by leveraging the Earth's heat, the project will dramatically cut fossil fuel dependence, slash carbon emissions, and stand as a beacon of environmental stewardship. This agreement was signed by Engineer Amos Siwoi, the Chief Executive Officer of EcoCloud, and Peng Xiao Group CEO of G42 at State House, Nairobi. Meanwhile, the country inched closer to the start of manufacturing of vaccines following the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Kenya Biovax Institute and Hayat Biotech UAE.
We are not only a member of the International Vaccine Institute, but its regional headquarters for our continent will be here in Kenya. And the step we have taken today is a step to confirm Kenya's locality and Kenya's positioning as a destination for vaccine research, development, and manufacture.
This collaboration will be benefiting both countries. We were looking forward for this for a long time. We were working with Biovax and the team here to reach this stage.
Hayat Biotech, Your Excellency, have expertise in research, in development, in partnerships with other big vaccines manufacturers, and not just for human vaccines, but also animal vaccines.
Edna Murungi for Prime Edition.
Medical practitioners have issued a strike notice after talks with the Ministry of Health on their grievances collapsed.
The practitioners, through the union, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, say the Ministry of Health is not sincere in addressing their demands.
On Tuesday 5th, the Kenya Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Unions met with the Ministry of Health for a status update on the plight of intern doctors.
We had promised that we are going to give a 7-day strike notice. We were to give it on Monday, but the government of the ministry invited us for a meeting yesterday, and we delayed it hoping that there will be meaningful conversations. Sadly, nothing worthy was discussed.
KMPDU Deputy Secretary General Ms. Kela Dennis said attempts to have a breakthrough on the matter failed to materialize.
We were told that there are only 3 options. 1, they either go and work for free. 2, they wait for July. 3, they are told that they wait to see if the Treasury will okay them to go work without pay. Then when pay comes in July, they'll be paid in arrears.
With no hope on sight, the union says it has been left with no option but to down tools.
We are here to give a 7-day strike notice starting today. That will expire on the next week on Tuesday midnight on 12th. So from Wednesday, there will be no doctor.
The practitioners are lamenting that the ministry is reneging on its promises and instead wants to continue with what it claims to be exploitation of its members.
And we met in January of last year with the governors and the Minister for Health, OCS for Health, and we had put an implementation matrix on the CBA of 2017 that is still active up to now. Sadly, I want to report that nothing that was agreed on has ever been implemented. Solidarity forever.
Tumedix, however, says the door for dialogue is not shut and ready for any talks to avert the strike. Kasicha Namasha, Premier Edition.
And former Starehe Member of Parliament Bishop Margaret Wanjiru is decrying the demolition of her Jesus is Alive Ministry Church in Nairobi.
The bishop is accusing an influential individual of sending hired goons to invade the church, destroying the perimeter wall on claims the church sits on public land.
Bishop Wanjiru, in her post on social media, claimed she suffered injuries during the fracas.
Mwenyewe nimesalimia watu wa DCIO hapa nikawaambia karibuni mtu wakole. Kumbe they are coming to reinforce their NIS brothers. Alafu wakaitana wengine. So you can really see tumefika place where sisi ndio hatuna mtu wa kutusaidia na mahali ya kukimbilia. So I have to rush to hospital kujaribu kuona vile nitatibiwa miguu na mikono. It is sad. It is very, very sad.
Well, now the multi-sectoral working group on the realization of the 2/3 gender principle has today met Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka to seek his support on the 2/3 gender principle report.
The team was led by Gender Cabinet Secretary Aisha Jumo, and of course this says there have been 4 failed attempts really to pass the 2/3 gender rule in Kenya.
Now the Constitution 2010 states that the state must take legislative and other measures to ensure that no more than 2/3 of members of elective or appointive bodies are of the same gender.
The multi-sectoral working group was tasked to develop and recommend a framework for the implementation of the not more than 2/3 gender principle in elective and appointive bodies, and today it met Wiper Party leader to seek his support.
Make the necessary important step as a country to ensure that the 2/3 gender rule is actualized in accordance with the vision of Constitution 2010, our most important document.
Historically, women have been marginalized by the political system, thereby requiring that the state put in place measures to guarantee the right to equality. This right to equality is interpreted as requiring the elimination of historically rooted patterns of prejudice, discrimination and disadvantage that contribute to the subordination and exclusion of women. The group has since presented its report to the Kenya Women Parliamentarian Association.
Consider me as the Wiper leader as a champion. We want everybody to feel that this country is making the right steps.
I want to thank the Azimio family who made it very clear yesterday in your statement that you are supporting the 2/3 gender principle report from the multi-sectoral working group to be part of the NATCO report.
The group has been meeting key principals seeking support to push for the realization of the 2/3 gender principle. Yusuf Far reporting for Prime Edition.
Moving on, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, ESCC, has begun auditing the management of the Inua Jamii cash transfer program for senior citizens by the Ministry of Labour.
The audit is set to take place for the next 3 months and will focus on areas of compliance, review, policies and processes, as well as identify possible corruption loopholes.
According to the Commission, they will interview government officers as part of the audit, and Labour Cabinet Secretary Florence Bore welcomed the move, saying the findings will aid in identifying the gaps and risks to inform improvements.
The compliance monitoring exercise we're embarking on is a proactive and strategic approach to identifying vulnerabilities, evaluating potential risks, and formulating effective preventive measures. The process is not about casting blame, but rather empowering all stakeholders to be party of the solution.
So I wish to appreciate the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for reaching out to the ministry to undertake a joint compliance monitoring of the older persons cash transfer program. I appreciate the scope of the joint monitoring, which will encompass assessment of policies, processes, procedures, and practices that support the implementation of the older persons cash transfer program.
We shall be available, and we'll also provide a team that is going to work with you very, very closely, and should there be a question that they think I really need to clarify, it will be very, very important for me to clarify. I should be available.
We're back. Now, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and the Institution of Certified Secretaries have inked a deal that will see the rollout of programs aimed at educating the public on the importance of promoting governance and ethics in the country.
The memorandum of understanding between the two organizations will create awareness among the public on good governance and promote a culture of transparency.
The deal was signed on Wednesday at Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, setting the stage for production of content across the more than 20 radio stations, KBC's digital platforms, KBC TV, and Y254 channel.
Today marks the culmination of preparation of this collaboration agreement between Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and the Institute of Certified Secretaries for the field of media coverage in television, radio, and digital space.
The Kenya Broadcasting Corporation Acting Managing Director Paul Masharia welcomed the partnership, saying it was timely in not only educating the public on governance and ethics, but will also increase viewership through research-based programming.
We will also, in this collaboration, be collaborating in terms of training, and also we shall benefit in terms of research that they do, so that we enrich our content in the broadcast.
Through its Chief Executive Officer, Jeremiah Nyaga, said the partnership will provide room for capacity building through training on governance.
It is to their benefit to engage the services of a corporate secretary, because a corporate secretary or a board secretary or a certified secretary is a professional who is trained, accredited, and regulated on matters governance.
I want to commit that we will ensure that what is done, of course, is well researched. We will provide the professionals to be able to give their opinions.
Well, we look forward to this partnership, and we are like a call away in case of anything.
KBC's management pledged to ensure synergy in production of programs to ensure maximum benefits from the partnership and the promotion of structures of good governance.
We feel really privileged to be part of this team that will be ensuring that good governance prevails in our country.
So we'll be fulfilling our mandate as a public broadcaster in ensuring that we have high-frequency television properties. We have interviews where experts will be called from your end and our end.
On the website and also our online platforms. So this is an instant team. So as long as you have something you need to share, let us be aware and we'll support.
Parsai Frederick, Prime Edition.
A section of human rights activists in Mombasa operating under the umbrella of the Coast Civil Society Network for Human Rights is calling on senators to reject the Affordable Housing Project bill, which is slated for debate this week in the Senate.
Led by their chairman, Zedekiah Adika, the activists criticized the housing bill, claiming it intends to transfer public land to private hands without due consideration for sustainable land use and management of public land.
Here's our County News Roundup.
The Affordable Housing Bill is facing yet another headwind, with a section of human rights activists in Mombasa urging the senators not to pass it during the debate slated for next week in the Senate.
Reject the housing bill for reasons that it intends to transfer public land to private hands without due regard to sustainable development and management of public land, contrary to Article 60 of the Constitution of Kenya.
Elsewhere, police in Naivasha have recovered 3 stolen motor vehicles and assorted electronic goods worth millions of shillings following a sting operation in different towns. According to Naivasha Deputy County Commissioner Mutua Kisilu, the 3 motor vehicles were stolen on different days in February.
We are still looking for more suspects, especially for those robberies.
We have a prime suspect for the filter vehicle. We are still pursuing him.
Meanwhile, the county government of Kitui has announced burial support to victims of the 10 families affected by the Katangi accident along the Kitui-Machakos highway. The accident involving a 41-seater matatu has so far claimed 10 lives, among them 9 adults and a minor.
We will, as a government, extend some support, and it is supplementary support, not the entire support, to the people who have lost their lives through this tragic accident.
In the meantime, the County Assembly of Murang'a has raised concern over the rising cases of insecurity in some parts of the county, arising from illegal mushrooming of betting and gambling machines.
Betting inamaliza kizazi, inamaliza nchi yetu. In 10 years, 20 years, nani atakuja kupiga kura na watakuwa wame, because baada ya kupata hiyo shilingi 50, shilingi 100 ya betting, anaenda ulevi.
Betting has become an order of the day, especially in our radio stations.
We want to see enforcement officers have done crackdown of all illegal machines.
And Sera Conservancy in Samburu County that has been known for keeping the black rhinos has received 4 white rhinos. According to the committee executive member for tourism in Samburu County, Raphael Nilayara, Sera Conservancy is one of the best breeding for rhino and now becomes the only conservancy in East Africa with both white and black rhinos.
Today, we've just undertaken rhino translocations from Lower Downs to Sera Community Conservancy.
This is the first time ever since tumeona white rhino kwa maeneo hii ya Samburu. So indeed, as a county government, we are very, very happy.
Finally, a section of women in Kakamega County have teamed up to help in forest conservation efforts, as well as mitigating the effects of climate change by planting trees in Kakamega Forest. The group says they have also benefited from the initiative, as it helps them earn some income.
Hata sitaki mtu aingilie msito wangu ati anakata. Hata nikisikia mahali wanakata, lazima nitembee pole niwafikie niwaulize kwa nini mnakata huu mti.
Tumeshikilia huo mwito sana kwa sababu wakati wa kiangazi sisi ndio tunaumia.
Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition.
Time for us to pick a fast breather on Prime Edition this Wednesday. But of course, just a reminder that later on, we'll be having a conversation with the Principal Secretary in charge of Culture, the Arts and Heritage, Madam Umi Bashir, who will be joining us on set to discuss really the preservation of culture. And I know you were telling me something about your mother tongue and something.
Yes,
like
on the 21st of February was International Mother Language Day.
Yeah.
Did you speak your native language? Well, we'll be answering that question in not too long. Do keep it right here.
Haya, sisi ya kungoja kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja star 570 hash bukana shake.
Welcome to Sensei Institute. Mahali skills zangu ni pesa mkononi. At Sensei College, practical skills is the definition. Accredited by the government and founded on a Christian background, Sensei College offers all-rounded programs that are tailor-made to enhance your skills and give you the future you desire. We offer courses such as interior design, fashion and design, hairdressing and beauty, hospitality courses, trailer driving and defensive driving, building construction technology, CCTV, solar and electrical installation, photography and video production, electronic courses, vehicle electronics and mechanic courses, agricultural mechanics, ICT, and many more. To enroll in any of our campuses in Nairobi and Nakuru, all you need is your national ID card. Mapema ndo best. Take advantage of our monthly intake. Come to kusort na skills. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
Wewe. Haya ndio hizo zimeanza.
Jina yake.
Oh, Makoha.
Chura yako iko baya.
Sasa nyoka inakucha, nyoka ina mabawa. Umesema hivi? Wewe usiwacha kucheza na mimi, unasikia? Uliza maswali, ati amekuroga.
Welcome back.
Well, let's take our weekly segment on cinemas and theatre. And as the world prepares to celebrate the International Women's Day later in the week, we turn the spotlight on Judy Kibinge, a renowned Kenya filmmaker whose works have inspired generations.
Her rich film journey has caught the eye of London-based professor of film and screen studies who has created a retrospective film, Out of the Box.
Here is Jacqueline Masharia with a review of Out of the Box.
The film Out of the Box, The Screen World of Judy Kibinge, explores the diverse filmmaking work and generous leadership style of award-winning Kenyan female filmmaker Judy Kibinge, whose journey in the film industry is one of resilience, creativity, and groundbreaking achievement. Her transition into filmmaking from advertising in 2002 marked the beginning of a new era in Kenyan cinema as her fiction and documentary films ignited a modern filmmaking movement.
Hey, you're gonna be the next victim.
Through her lens, she captured stories that resonated deeply with audiences, sparking conversations and challenging societal norms.
Myself and my team members really were looking for stories to feature as part of our research where we felt there was, transformation going on the continent. And I thought what really stands out to me and what really stood out for me is that often African women filmmakers haven't been given enough of a spotlight, both within Africa and globally, in academia and in the film industry. And so Judy Kibinge immediately came to mind as one of these leading Kenyan women filmmakers whose work I'd been following and admiring since 2002. And I just thought, why has there not been a film about Judy? And then I thought, not only is she an amazing filmmaker, but I also really, really admired what she had done with her team at DocuBox, creating this organization that's been running for 10 years now, and that has really transformed filmmaking cultures in East Africa.
Professor Lindiwe Dave, a film lecturer at the SOS University in London and director of the film, notes that her desire to create African films was realized after she saw how misrepresented Africa was.
When I started my PhD on African cinema at the University of Cambridge in the UK, first of all, I was really shocked as a South African myself to arrive in the UK and to see how misrepresented Africa was in the UK media. Africa was represented as a place of violence and war, and it just didn't resonate with what I knew of my own African experiences growing up as a child in South Africa. So that was a primary motivation to start an African film festival to tell, the real stories from Africa.
Through her research in film, Professor Lindiwe notes that Kenya is the only country in Africa that has women in the forefront in the film industry.
Kenya is absolutely incredible in terms of its gender equity in the film industry. In all my research on gender in film industries globally, Kenya is the only country that I have been able to find that has women at the forefront of the film industry, leading the film industry, playing an equal role with men, working closely with men, but it's extremely unusual to have that. For example, again, thinking about South Africa, where I'm from, that gender equity has not been good in the film industry, which is one of the reasons why the National Film and Video Foundation wanted to create the Female-Only Filmmakers Program to get more women into the industry.
Judy Kibinge's impact extends beyond the silver screen. Her dedication to fostering documentary filmmaking in East Africa led to the establishment of DocuBox, the region's first documentary film fund.
Gosh, almost 10 years. I feel like we're so old. Whenever I say 10, I'm like, no, it can't be that long, but it is.
Kibinge's tireless efforts and dedication to her craft saw her honored with the prestigious Women in Film Kenya Award for the most influential woman in film in 2021, followed by a head of state commendation
for this enormous honor
and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Kenya Film Commission the following year.
I loved making something necessary because it was a very difficult time right after post-election violence. It was a difficult period. So be able to turn that into a really engageable watching film that I guess it gains in value the further we get away from 2007. Whenever you see it, you remember something. And it's one thing I would be really thrilled to see in the future. And one thing I'd really like to see from our young and emerging filmmakers in Kenya, in East Africa, is filmmakers who are paying attention to the craft. And if we do that, if young filmmakers can just expand their craft, 20 years, we'll be shocked. We'll see something different happening.
Jacqueline Manyara for Cinemas and Theatre.
Well, indeed, I was just saying off cuff that, after that piece by Judy Kibinge there about her, we feel like turning into the mood and doing a Beyonce and saying, who runs the world? Girls. And as you can see on the other side of the studio, we have Betty, who is going to be running the show when it comes to matters business. Betty, take it away.
Thank you very much, Regina. Of course, we are looking forward to celebrating International Women's Day on Thursday. Now, let's get into the world of business. My name is Betty Kiptum. Parliament has adopted the 4.2 trillion shillings 2024-2025 fiscal year budget report tabled in the House today. In the expenditure plan tabled by the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Ndindi Nyoro, agriculture, infrastructure and security sectors will be the biggest beneficiaries receiving an enhanced allocation. Members of Parliament have raised concerns with the 2.9 billion shilling revenue targets, saying if the collection by the Kenya Revenue Authority is missed, it will affect service delivery. The legislators have welcomed the move by Treasury to prioritize completion of ongoing road projects, channel funds towards the fertilizer subsidy, confirmation of junior secondary school teachers, hiring of 20,000 interns, and the enhanced allocation of an extra 8.8 billion shillings towards the National Government Constituency Development Fund.
We have enhanced the education budget, and especially TSC budget specifically, by 26.3 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker. And out of the resolution of this House, all our JSS interns, who are 26,000 in number, are going to be confirmed through this BPS to permanent and pensionable.
As we laud Treasury in this endeavor, we should also ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker, if the overprojection of revenue collection by Treasury will hinder the implementation of this budget.
Taxation is so high, making the cost of living almost impossible for our people.
We need some innovative ways of making sure the revenue collection that is collected does not hurt Kenyans.
Mr. Speaker, the hiring of 20,000 interns, and especially the confirmation of those ones who are already interns, will come as a big relief.
That the ICT departmental states have not been properly funded. Honorable Speaker, the digital superhighway is as important as the roads infrastructure in this country.
We must come up with a solution that will help the executive to understand, Mr. Speaker,
that it is time to pay Kenyans who supplied to us government, who went and took loans, and right now some of them are just collapsing.
We must be fair to each other in the allocation of national resources.
And Kenya is urging the regional trading blocs to harmonize seed policies to ease trade in the region. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi says Kenya is considering removing value-added tax on vegetable seeds to spur regional trade in vegetable seeds.
Players in the seed sector say the trade in the commodity could further increase from the current traded average of 500,000 metric tons if regional trading blocs could further harmonize their seed policies. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi says seed merchants' certification should be harmonized to ease cross-border seed movement in the continent.
I think this piece must answer to the question that time has come when we must start thinking or continually invest in the development of seed varieties that are drought resistant, that are able to withstand pests and diseases.
Regional trading blocs have also been advised to finalize their tripartite agreements to harmonize seed policies.
Africa, as we talk about trade, there is no trade without production.
Kenya is also planning to remove the 16% VAT on vegetable seeds to allow seeds from the region access the Kenyan market.
The area under which we practice farming is limited, so we must appreciate the technology and science.
Increased seed trade has been primed to increase food production through exchange of quality seeds. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
And micro, small and medium enterprises have been challenged to adhere to quality standards if they are keen in penetrating international markets. Investments, Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary, that is Rebecca Miano, is urging manufacturers to adhere to laid down standards and regulations, underscoring the pivotal role of quality compliance in driving industrialization and acceptability of products in the market.
I have also looked at your strategic plan, which is a blueprint set to guide the journey of KEBS from now till 2027. I think those who have read it or perused it will agree with me. It is expertly stitched together to rope in elements of our national aspirations. I have seen the elements of bottom-up economic transformation agenda together with the Vision 2030. And you will agree with me that it is also deeply rooted in global standards, sustainable development, and the welfare of our citizens.
Now, the Port of Mombasa is eyeing the lucrative transshipment status due to growing regional business. This has further been boosted by the ongoing infrastructure upgrade at the facility that has seen the doubling of the port capacity. Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director William Ruto says there has been an increase in the number of shipping lines using Mombasa as a transshipment port, with Italy-based Messina Shipping Line picking Mombasa Port as its African transshipment hub.
The government has invested more than 100 billion shillings in the last 7 years to upgrade infrastructure at the port of Mombasa. The port has now 2 container terminals, namely the Mombasa Container Terminal and the Kipevu Container Terminal, with an annual total capacity of 1.7 million TEUs. Due to the improved infrastructure and turnaround time, Mombasa Port has seen an uptick in transshipment volumes, growing at a rate of 25% annually.
Jumping from all the way from the north to the south. And why are they choosing Mombasa? They are calling Mombasa because of efficiency. And from here, when they go to Durban, they'll be coming back again to Mombasa to pick export cargo and other transshipment cargo coming from other ports within the region.
The Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director William Ruto says the port is working with other private stakeholders to position the facility as a key transshipment hub in Africa. Transshipment is the business of shipping goods and containers to an immediate destination, then to another destination.
For converting the port of Mombasa now into a transshipment hub, the containers that are being discharged from this ship, more than 35% belongs to other ports, and mainly Dar es Salaam. Now the port of Mombasa is acting as a transshipment hub for Messina Line, and all their cargo heading to Dar es Salaam will be transshipped.
Amongst the shipping lines discharging transshipment at the port of Mombasa includes Mediterranean Shipping Company, CMA, CGM and Maersk, among others. Italy-based Messina Shipping Line has become the latest shilling company to pick Mombasa port as its African transshipment hub.
We are continuing to support Mombasa as Mombasa is supporting Messina. And sure, we have a plan to improve very much our service. At this moment, we are suffering the Suez Canal problem, but we are still continuing very hard to keep the service with the same transit time, although there is some problem.
And that is the business news this evening. Karen Kibet is standing by with the latest in the sports world. My name is Betty Kiptum. Good night.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwenye star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw, ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa Mei namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Ploti ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Vuka na shake.
Differently. I use swimming much for competition purposes. I use for therapy purposes.
Prosthetic legs represent more than just a physical instrument. They symbolize the restoration of independence.
Nimejitolea kusaidia wengine. Niko na hiyo roho ya utu, kusaidia msichana mlemavu mwenzangu. Pia mimi niko na hiyo ulemavu. Differently.
Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive. 'Cause it's the eye of the tiger, is the team of the fire.
Julia, hapo umeuma nje ya ukweli. Yani umeuma nje nga. I do not want to be introduced in Kiswahili, especially by Julia. I demand to be introduced in English.
And now let me tell you something. If you keep on collecting me when there is no need, tutashindana na wewe zako kwa mbako.
Mtazamaji, fahari watatu ameingia kwenye masindano. Na kama wewe mtazamaji, toa dictionary.
Classmates.
A very good evening to you. Welcome back to KBC Prime Edition. My name is Karen Kibet. Let's now take a look at what's making headlines in the world of sports. The reigning world 3,000-meter steeplechase record holder Beatrice Chepkoech and world 800-meter champion Mary Moraa are among the Kenyan athletes selected to represent the country in the ongoing Africa Games in Accra. The final team was selected after a 2-day trial at the Nyayo National Stadium.
Beatrice Chepkoech, who jetted back in the country yesterday from the World Indoor Championship, overcame jet lag and stiff competition in the 5,000 meters to win the women's race in 15 minutes, 29.69 seconds. Mary Mananu and Sandra Felis Tibet finished second and third respectively as the curtains came down on the African Games trials on Wednesday afternoon. Mary Moraa is to victory in the women's 400 meters in 51.25 seconds ahead of Jacqueline Wanjala and Maureen Thomas.
I tell my fans to accept something good from Ghana. That's what I promised them.
and to wait for national record.
There was no stop in Kenya prisons Esbon Ocheng in the 100 meters race, which he won 10.22 seconds, followed by KDF's Stephen Onyango and Ferdinand Omanyala's younger brother Isaac Omurwa.
I'm not training to beat somebody. I'm not training to beat our champion Omanyala nor Akotieno. Mine is to beat qualifying time for Olympics, which is 10:00. That's my aim.
Little-known Dismas Koril of KDF won the men's 10,000 meters in 28 minutes, 36.77 seconds, followed by Francis Abong and Evans Keitani. Brian Coleman stormed to victory in the 1,500 meters men's race in 3 minutes, 38.36 seconds, ahead of Kenya Police Abel Kipsang and Kamar Etiang. The women's race was won by Mary Nyaboke of Nyanza, who clocked 4 minutes, 27.82 seconds, ahead of the experienced duo of Lydia Jeruto and Winnie Chebet of KDF. These selected athletes will go to camp immediately to prepare for the continental assignments, with the athletes' program scheduled to start on the 18th of this month in Accra, Ghana.
Mary Mora, Beatrice Chepkoech and Esbon Ocheng are among the Kenyan athletes who will represent Kenya in the All-African Games set for Accra, Ghana, after being selected during the 2-day national trials, which took part at the Nyayo National Stadium. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Thank you, Dan, for that detailed report. We sure do wish Team Kenya to the All-Africa Games all the best. Moving on, Kenya is set to partner with Morocco to transform key sports infrastructure into profitable ventures as she prepares to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations with Uganda and Tanzania. The Sports Cabinet Secretary of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports, Ababu Namwamba, said this when he visited the Stade Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium in Rabat, Morocco.
CS Ababu, who toured the construction site with the president of Moroccan National Infrastructure and Sport Management, Yusuf Belkacem, lauded the level of workmanship and the speed of construction, taking valuable lessons back to Nairobi, where Kenya is currently constructing an iconic football stadium, the customized Talanta Sports City.
Amazing to see the work that has gone on here, designed by Morocco, constructed by Morocco, and really a great manifestation of capabilities on the African continent. We want to work in partnership with Morocco.
The CS noted that it was crucial for Morocco and Kenya to establish a mutually beneficial partnership, especially in sports infrastructure, development and management, to ensure the government transformed its key sporting infrastructure into profitable projects.
We have agreed on areas of cooperation, the development, the management of sports facilities, development of talents, twinning of our academies, twinning of our federations.
He also added that his ministry is keen on benchmarking with key leaders in Africa football ecosystem as it prepares its infrastructure and build a formidable team for the Premier Africa Football Extravaganza AFCON 2027 that Kenya is set to host alongside her Eastern Africa partners, Uganda and Tanzania.
We will be happy to develop more partnership with Kenya, and ANEP and SONARGES are ready to do it. Yesterday with the minister we discussed a big memorandum.
Kingori Mwangi for Prime Edition Sports.
Thank you, Kingori, for that report. The 2023 FIA African Rally Championship champion Karan Patel and veteran speedster Carl Flash Tundo are among Kenyan drivers confirmed for the 2024 WRC Safari Rally, set to zoom off on the 28th to the 31st of this month in Naivasha. World champion Kale Rovanpera will return to Kenya, eyeing the WRC Safari Rally title after finishing runners-up last year.
Sunday morning, pretty slowly. Not the defending champion.
African Rally Championship champion Karan Patel will be looking to pick up from where he left off in the continental competition as he eyes a good run in the WRC Safari Rally.
Driven Seb Ogier, he's taken a page or 10.
Patel has been impressive in the last 2 seasons, finishing second to Zambian Leroy Gomez in the 2022 ARC. In November 2023, he beat Jas Mangat to the title on the home stretch in the prestigious Rally of Tanzania. Veteran speedster Carl Flash Tundo, youngster Hamza Anwar, and Nairobi-based Fabia Rally Tour driver Akif Virani are leaving nothing to chance as they brace up for the WRC Safari Rally participation. Kenya National Rally Championship speedster Andrew Mwiruri will be looking for a new time record when he competes in the rally. World champion Caleb Wampera will return to Kenya eyeing the WRC Safari Rally title after finishing runner-up last year. The Flying Finn will add Safari Rally to his partial World Rally Championship campaign in the company of Japanese star teammates Elfin Evans and Takamoto Katsuta.
Two of the starts of this rally were locked.
8-time World Rally champion and defending champion Sebastian Ogier will miss out on the iconic event for the first time since Safari's return to the Global Series in 2021.
Elvin Evans was Taka's target.
Thank you, Karanja, for that report. And KBC Channel 1 will be airing the WRC Safari Rally live. Moving on, the second round of the 2024 World Rugby HSBC Sevens Challenger Series will kick off this Friday in Montevideo, Uruguay. The national women's rugby sevens team Lionesses will face Hong Kong, China in their first match, while their male counterparts Shujaa will meet Portugal in their opening match.
Lionesses are in Pool B alongside Belgium, Hong Kong and Papua New Guinea. Lionesses finished second in the second round of the World Rugby HSBC Challenger Series held in Dubai last year and will be aiming to win this year's Challenger Series. Meanwhile, Shujaa will take on 2023 Challenger champions Tonga, Georgia and Portugal in Pool A. Shujaa won the Challenger Cup final last year after defeating Chile 12-5. As the Challenger Series kick off this Friday in Montevideo, Uruguay for the second of the 3 rounds, Kenya needs to extend their winning streak since the top 4 teams in the standings at the conclusion of the 3rd round in May will compete in a promotion relegation tournament alongside the bottom 4 teams from the 7th World Series in the grand final in Madrid. Sela Onyango for Prime Edition.
And Sela's report brings us to the end of the sports news tonight. My name is Karen Kibet. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. I hand you back to my colleague, John Kioria. Kioria, take it away.
Thank you very much, Karen Kibet. Time for us now to get into a conversation this evening. And like I told you at the beginning of the broadcast, we are engaging the Principal Secretary in charge of Culture, the Arts and Heritage. Her name is Madam Umi Bashir, CBS, who joins us in studio for that conversation. And generally, we're just looking at Kenya's idea of conservation, particularly on the cultural and the arts as well as heritage. And also, we'll be having a special focus on artifacts. That is quite an important conversation we are having. Let me just bring her on set, Madam Umi Bashir, CBS, the PS for Culture, the Arts and Heritage. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me this evening.
Karibu sana. Probably to start us off, begin by defining the mandate bestowed on your State Department, what you do on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we do in the State Department of Culture, Arts and Heritage, we preserve and safeguard all our cultures, our heritage, and the assets that we have as a country. So we're given this authority by Article 11 of the Constitution, where we talk about our cultures and the importance of our cultures, and our cultures being the backbone of our society. So we have different sagas within our State Department. We deal with culture, the arts and heritage, but under that, we have heroes. We deal with our heroes. We deal with Bomas of Kenya. We deal with the National Museums of Kenya, where we curate, preserve all our heritage, the assets that we have as a country. We also have what we call the Kenya Cultural Center, where we have performances, arts, and talents are nurtured. We also have the PPMC, which deals with music. So under culture, culture is where now all that we do is ensure that we appreciate our cultures and we inculcate the appreciation of cultures in our children. So it's a State Department that is under the Ministry of Gender, Culture and Arts and Heritage, and at the same time we have things like Ushanga. Ushanga is the beadwork, the beadwork initiative, where we empower women and make sure that they get money in their pockets and not just a project whereby we showcase beautiful items and products, but at the same time, the women get to benefit. So it's a State Department that deals with a vast array of different ways of safeguarding our cultures, ensuring that hundreds of years from now, our heritage sites will still be standing and still will have a functional cultural and diplomatic community.
Absolutely. It's good you mentioned about the Ushanga initiative. We'll be talking about Women's Day a little bit later, of course, as we wind up. But it's important you mention about culture. And other than the cultural diversity that Kenya enjoys, so much so that reflected in community is, does Kenya have a national culture? What we can say, we are different people, but we have this culture that is called the Kenyan culture.
Well, we don't have one specific culture as Kenyans. We are 46 different communities, and we all have different upbringing, different religion, but we don't have a specific culture as a Kenyan culture. We have the Matatu culture, which we share. We have music, which we share, but at the same time, my music and your music are different. What we're doing as national government is coming up with a national dress that would be used as a means of uniting everybody in the country. So what you have as when you wear for your rurashio, for instance, functions, for instance, birth, deaths, weddings, what you wear in your community is not what I would wear in mine. So there's no way we can have one particular culture, but we have the culture of unity when we meet out there in the diaspora. If you see me wearing a Kenyan bracelet, or you'll say, oh, you're Kenyan, and that is what attracts all of us to be like united when we're outside there. But when we're here, we have things dividing us like politics, different opinions, but at the end of the day, it is so hard to come together and say that this is our national dress. So what we're trying to do is come up with a dress whereby we inculcate every community. So if it's the Kikuyu, if it's the Kalenjin, if it's the Somali, if it's the Swahilis, we bring about designers and involve everyone. So if it's different provinces, that will have different designers coming together and showcasing competitively what they want the Kenyan dress to be. So it's not going to be just one dress where we're going to say everybody should wear this dress. But at the end of the day, we have a dress that when you wear, I will not be feeling left out. And there's no particular Kenyan culture because what you eat, let's say your gastronomy, where you come from and where I come from are different. But when you eat, let's say mokimo, or when I taste mokimo and you have anjera, we get to appreciate those different cultures that we have. And that is actually what defines us as the Kenyan people. So you find our children all speaking Swahili in school. When they go back home, they speak their mother tongue. But then we have a community where if you speak Swahili or vernacular in school, you're told, give them the disc. You remember the disc in school?
You used to call it Monto.
Yeah, you're supposed to speak English. So you find English being cool. When you speak English, oh, it's fancy. But when you speak your mother tongue, it's like, no, you're not supposed to. So it gets the kids to think, oh, you know what, maybe I'm not supposed to be. Being cultural is not cool. So those kind of ups and downs that we have as a country. But at the same time, we're working with the Ministry of Education to see how we can inculcate this appreciation of our cultures and also making culture cool again. Yeah.
Indeed. Let's talk about artifacts. As a critical part of our history, what are the techniques that your department is using to preserve artifacts? We'll talk about the ones probably stolen by the people who came before us. But let's talk about the ones that we have first.
Yeah.
What are the techniques of preservation that you have in your department?
Okay. So what we do at the National Museums of Kenya is ensure that the fossils and the objects that we get in the field, this is from Turkana, Olga Saile, these are objects that have been there for years. And with time, they get to be, of course, the texture begins to change, but there are researchers and scientists who specifically deal with that. So what we do is we have a scientist who specifically use the right chemicals and use the right combination of chemicals to ensure that they safeguard this. At the NMK, we have the original Turkana boy. And the original Turkana boy, we do not display it anywhere because you can never find another Turkana boy. And so for us to display it is going to erode the whole aspect of originality in it, whereby if someone touches it and over years you'll find that you might even break it. So what we do, we have a vault at the NMK where we safeguard this. And at the same time at NMK, we have a whole department that deals with ensuring that the curators actually understand and see how those fossils and objects are kept in such a standard that years and years to come they'll still be functional. So we also sell casts. What I mean by that is we take the NMK and the fossil, the Turkana boy fossil that we have there. The Turkana boy fossil was found in the year 1984 in Turkana, and it was then 106 million years ago is when it was found. So we find that in such a situation, we cannot be showcasing this artifact. So what we do is create casts, like samples of the same. So you purchase it from us. So when you have it, like Uhuru Gardens, we have one, but it's not the original. And you find in America, in British Museum, there is a similar one, but it's not the real one. So the only one where you'll find the same in the whole world is only Kenya. So we take these artifacts very seriously, and the fact that some of our artifacts have been stolen and they are not here anymore. And as Kenya, we never ratified a very important convention that would put us at the table where we have a say, called the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the illicit and export and import of these stolen artifacts. So you'll find that since 1970, we never ratified this convention as a country, which that means is you cannot have a say in saying that give us back our artifacts, while in fact you are not part of the member states that have ratified this convention. So we did that as a country last year, and I'm very happy about that, because as a regime, you'll find that that was one of the very important and key promises His Excellency the President made to the people of Kenya. And once we ratified that convention, we have a seat at the table right now. So we can have a conversation where we're saying, listen, British Museum, you have our artifacts hanging in your museums, in your exhibitions, and we want them back. And we're not asking politely, we're demanding for them. Of course, there's diplomacy involved, foreign policy involved, but at the end of the day, you find have these African countries, like for instance, the other day, Nigeria asked for the artifacts in the year 2021. We as Kenya have not officially asked for it. Yes, there are communities, there are organizations that have been doing that, but for us to have that conversation is first of all to ratify the convention, which we did last year, then come up with a policy on matters restitution of our artifacts. And restitution, when you're given these artifacts, the skull of Koitalel Arab Samoei, for instance, never found. We keep saying, is it in Hungary? Is it in the British Museum? Where exactly is it? And you find that once we trace that, we know exactly where it is. We had a certain inventory research done by through the Germans who funded us as government, but we did the implementation of that as government, that we found 37,000 objects and artifacts missing and in different museums and institutions.
Belonging to the Republic of Kenya.
Belonging to us. So you see, it's a conversation that we need to take seriously. Okay. And not just take seriously, because once we are given back our objects, where are we going to put them? That's a conversation we need to have. Okay, so are you going to give these skulls back to the community? And the person you're giving back to, do they practice these cultural practices still, or their ancestors practiced this and right now they're Christians, so they're not interested in practicing what you practice? Like for instance, the Vigango. The Vigango is where now the Griama people have this sort of spiritual beings that they have in wooden sticks, planks that they put outside the house and the huts of someone who dies, a spiritual leader. So this was stolen and taken to America, for instance. And last year we got 85 Vigangos back to the country. And we gave this back to the community in the Kaya Forest in Kilifi County. So you see, for us, first of all, the important thing was ensuring that we have a policy framework that works, not just ratifying a convention and at the end of the day, we don't have a policy that supports this ratification. So I think we're headed in the right direction, whereby I think in the next 10 or 5 years, we should be having half, if not all, of our artifacts back in the country.
Quite an interesting conversation. Probably before we take a breather, you talk about the policy and obviously ratification. Is the legal requirement so far, or that policy as is it sufficient enough now to advance that cost of repatriating artifacts that are still in foreign countries? Is the legal regime enough?
Yes, you know, the thing is, the policy framework for restitution and reparation of artifacts is what we are working on currently. And once we have that in place, we are more than ready to move and have a diplomatic conversation. Of course, it's a multifaceted discussion where we'll not be the only ones doing it as a ministry and as a State Department. But of course, we will have MFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to be involved. We'll have the AG's office to be involved, of course, the executive. And you'll find that it's a conversation which other countries are more than willing to take. Ghana, for instance, the other day, they're being told that they will be loaned their artifacts which were stolen from them. You see, now the conversation is, we will loan you this, but you give them back to us after some time. Yeah. We don't want to be loaned. We as Kenya demand and want our artifacts back home, so that our people and our skulls and our beings can rest in peace finally. That aside, money is being made in these museums by showcasing the stolen objects. For instance, the Kiti cha Enzi, which was stolen. And we have the Mazrui drum, which was stolen from Mombasa. These are sentimental objects whereby the people believe that a leader should sit on a certain seat to feel like he's a leader, king of a kingdom. And right now, we find that the Germans, for instance, are very, very okay, and they're more than willing to give us back these objects. We're actually having that discussion with the ambassador and, of course, through MFA. And this is a conversation that I really enjoy and I'm passionate about, because I know that we shall make a difference in this country. Because this is a conversation that has just been spoken in boardrooms. But you see, you cannot solve everything sitting in a boardroom.
All right, let's take a breather. And then when we come back, because I've heard you mention Germany, America, and Britain are some of the countries where Kenya's artifacts are. And probably you'll give us details on other countries, probably, because I mean, these are a lot of artifacts that are still trapped out there. We're taking a breather, coming back in a minute. Don't go too far.
Sisi ya kungoja kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja star 570 hash ukana shake.
What's going on here?
I just came here to ask the same question, but I'm sure your lover or your dearest aunt can explain this to you.
Nothing you can say or do is going to make me see Marcelo differently, so go ahead and save your efforts, because I'm not going to change my mind.
Your two daughters are about to pull each other's teeth out for a man that's not worth it.
Rebecca, do you know something about that man that you haven't told me?
Know that you think that Marcelo is not for me, but do I have to accept that he's for my sister? Is that it?
Don't you see it? This woman is head over heels in love with you.
Shut up, okay?
And I think every day is a learning day. And I'll admit tonight is really a learning day for me. P.S. 37,000 artifacts out there. And you mentioned Germany, Britain, and America, some of the countries really that have our, let's say, illegally trafficked artifacts. Yeah. What other countries really have our artifacts?
Mostly it's the British in different institutions, the Pitt Rivers Museum, the British Museum itself, and the Honeyman Museum. But at the same time, you'll find the majority of this are specifically in Germany, Britain, and in America. In the States, for instance, we have the man-eaters of Savo. The lions themselves, the heads that, you know the history that's there when they were doing the railway and the man-eaters were there. So they were taken to be studied, and now they're in a museum called the Field Museum in Illinois, in Chicago. And it is ours, you see it, but you cannot go in there, pick them and take them back home. So there's there are a lot of artifacts and objects out there, but there are countries that are more than willing to have that diplomatic conversation and see how we can get our artifacts back. Of course, there's so much history behind it. How were they taken? And you'll find that there's so much passion and so much emotion in it. For instance, when the missionaries came, you'll find that we were told to close our eyes and pray, and things were taken from right under our noses. So these are some of the things that are taken from right under our noses. You'll find that during that time it was military interventions, and another time it was basically forceful interventions, like when you're told, the Witchcraft Act came about, where you're told what you're using, the cultural artifacts that you're using in your homes are illegal. So you need to get rid of all of them. So by getting rid of all of them, you're giving them to us as the British, and we're taking them back home to our museums to showcase them and get money out of them. So so for us, it's not about which country actually have this. What matters is the number, the institutions, and are they willing to have these diplomatic conversations between ourselves as Kenya and them. Now, the ratification of this convention of 1970 has actually given us a seat at that table where we can say that, listen, it's about time we got these artifacts back. But then we also have to be prepared as a country. Once we get these objects, do we have enough spaces in our museums to safeguard these artifacts? Do our curators now understand the importance and the degree of importance these objects have, given that they've been away for more than 50, 60 years? So what we're trying to do as NMK is create space for that, because we are working with in anticipation of getting the objects back, given that we've ratified this. So the State Department of Culture, Arts and Heritage, we are coming up with a policy on restitution, and this is a very important policy, one of a kind, and being a patriotic Kenyan, every Kenyan should be very proud of that particular policy.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that patriotism you're making reference to, and particularly on how the country can gain from it, because the president has consistently mentioned about the cradle of mankind, informing even the policy taken just the other day on visa entry into the Republic.
Yeah.
Because we can't just be talking about restitution of these artifacts just for the sake of it.
Yes.
How does the country, through your department and of course your colleagues in government, plan to capitalize on this, at least for the country to make a dime?
Yeah, actually that's a very good question, because you see, we're looking at a situation where currently we have tourists of around 1.2 million annually. And given that we're having this visa-free narrative that we're driving right now and actualizing, the cradle of humankind has been mentioned before in South Africa. But what we're talking about is home of human origins. Home of human origins means the original home of humanity is Kenya. So what we're doing is coming up with a state-of-the-art mega science park in Turkana, whereby we will have all the artifacts there that we have in the country, including the original Turkana boy. We will have a situation whereby we have the tourists going there to see this. That aside, there'll be hotels, not 5-star or high-end hotels, but at the same time, so to experience the Turkana culture, have Ushanga there also. And for us, we're having these conversations with the diaspora, of course, through MFA, and see how when tourists come, we just don't talk about welcome back home narrative, but we actually have tangible products that they can see. Culture, for instance, when you talk about cultural tourism, you go to the Mara. You go to Mombasa, to the ocean, and what used to happen is you talk about the beach and the bush, that is the Mara, and the Mombasa being the Diani beach and whatnot. But now we're changing that because it's become boring and it's overdone. The big five. Now we're going with this narrative of saying welcome back home. When you welcome back home, it's not just you and me as Kenyans, it's everyone in the globe. Chinese, Americans, anybody, Russians, you come and this is home. So when you go home, you want to go and see where you were originally, where you came from. So you go to Turkana. So you find this science park, and at the same time, our numbers is what we are looking at increasing, the number of tourists. We're looking at from 1.2 to 5 million tourists annually. That is once we're done with the science park. Another thing is value addition to the things and the products that we have, the creatives do in our country. We have the Kamba carvings, we have the Kisii soapstone, we have the Lamu kofias and the chondos. You see, well, value addition now, this ushanga, the beaded products, being fixed on that the chondo. We have the Lamu kofias, and when a tourist comes, they don't have to go specifically to Mara to go and buy this, or they don't have to go to Kajiado or specific places or Lamu to buy that kofia. We have a situation where we're coming up with an app called Sana app, an application where it's an online application where you can buy all these products. So you're sitting in the comfort of your office and you buy a Lamu kofia from Lamu, a Kisii soapstone from Kisii, and it's delivered to you. So we're moving with a trend whereby you can buy things from the comfort of your home, from the comfort of your office, because this is a digital time and a digital era. So we are going with a trend, and we're trying our best to make culture cool again, and this is the way to make culture cool again.
Absolutely. Clearly, this is a conversation I want to have even more and more, but I have about just 2 minutes before we wind up, and I want us very quickly to switch to Women Affairs, because International Women's Day is coming. A youthful woman from a minority community. Do you think we are getting there in terms of enhancing women's rights?
Oh yeah. Let me tell you, women are at the epicenter of power, epicenter of education, and epicenter of development in this country. You'll find that as a ministry, we are implementing the whole idea of the two-third gender rule, and we're supporting these women who are at the bottom of the pyramid by doing what? By empowering them financially, economically, empowering them by training them on life skills that will give them livelihoods and put money in their pockets. Myself, for instance, I come from Wajir County, a county that is known for women who are not educated and women who are, this patriarchy and women not developing in such a way that they'd be appreciated in society. But here I am. I'm a PS, thanks to His Excellency the President, and we're given a chance because we have been given a seat at the table, and for us, we help empower other women.
And you're a lawyer.
Oh yeah, I'm a lawyer, yeah, that's true. So it's International Women's Day on Friday, and we're really excited about that, and we're going to celebrate that as women in this country, because once you empower or educate a girl child, you educate a whole community. So for me, it's an exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to empowering more girls and mentoring them and making sure that once I leave this place, more girls will have a seat on this table. Yeah,
absolutely. P.S. Umi Bashir, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Probably your last word on that camera, what you'd want to be your last word or your assurance to Kenyans on this camera here.
Okay. I intend to make culture cool again, and I need you to help me make culture cool again. Thank you.
Wow, you practiced that?
No.
Say it again.
I intend to make culture cool again, and I need you to help me make culture cool again. Thank you.
Hey, okay. Umi Bashir, CBS, the PS Culture, the Arts and Heritage, speaking to us. And of course, like he had, 37,000 artifacts belonging to the Republic of Kenya still trapped out there. But of course, the ministry is doing a lot, really, in terms of ensuring that we repatriate all those to the Republic of Kenya so they can help you and me. So help her to help. Good night. God bless.
Shambani mbili yako ni gani? Kwenye star 570 hash, every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw, ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa Mei namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga, plot Bahati ndizo hizi. Dial *570#. Title deed ndio hii. Buka na shake.